Hey, how you doing, y'all? This is Dimitri Horton, the youth pastor at the Heart of God Family Worship Center. And today, I brought some of my friends out so we can have a conversation about mental health. May is Mental Health Month, and I felt like we really wanted to be relevant and have a discussion around this. So, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Everybody cool?
Yeah.
Have a good day?
Yes.
My head is on straight. Life is good. Can't complain. Can't complain. All right, so let's get into it. What is mental health to you guys?
So I posted on Facebook like the one word to describe, like that pops in your head.
Okay.
So for me, I would say it's a priority. Like for everyone, it should be, I believe it should be your first priority. I think it should be over your physical health and everything, because without your mental health, like being straight and in line, you're not really going to be able to do everything to your full abilities.
That is cool. I like that you said priority. I'm thinking that my head is the top of my body. I don't kind of like take care of my head, then everything else kind of like withers away. What you guys think? What's mental health? What is it to you?
Well, to me, like in science class, we're going like to bring close like your whole body.
Okay.
So I'm saying like mental wellness is like if that's like messed up or like your whole, affects your like how you work, how you like what you do every day basically, and like affects your daily life basically.
Okay.
It's like good or bad, just
Cool. What about y'all? What you think?
It's like a trial or like a minor setback. It's like something that, most people deal with, but, yeah, that's all.
Okay. All right.
I would say, if I did one word how she said, I would say difficult,
Okay.
because it's difficult for me to know, like if he's struggling with mental health at the time, like he may not show it, he may not say anything, and then like, let's say like, I don't know, like he just disappears, like he distances himself, and I don't even know what's going on with him, then I feel bad on my part, like I'm not doing my job as your friend, as like a brother, so so stuff like that is difficult, and then it's difficult to deal with by yourself, especially if you don't know how to ask for help, or you don't feel like you have support around you.
Right.
It's difficult to just keep operating on a high pace level, like you still have stuff to do, regardless of how your mind is working, you still have stuff to do.
Yeah.
So it's just difficult.
Cool. So let me throw this at you. How big is mental health in your generation, and why?
I would say that it's pretty large in my generation, just because a lot of people deal with it.
Okay.
But then again, like they try not to show it. So then, like he said, it just makes it hard for everyone around it, because your friend might not know. So then ultimately that could make them suffer, because then they think they're not good enough and they're not doing what they should be. So then in turn they could start dealing with mental illness issues.
So how is mental health a big thing in your generation? Like, how is that? Just kind of like, what do you think?
I think, well, because it plays such a large part in everybody's life, like y'all are all watching this on a social media platform. Like social media is a large part of everybody's life, and everybody lives their life in some sort of limelight. So everybody, like I feel like it's more prominent now, because everybody's living in such a limelight and such a standard. Like everybody has their own standard, like whether it's clothes, whether it's how you talk, whether it's like what you're talking about, whether it's how you should feel about something. Like everybody is in a box. Like I feel like everybody's boxed into something, and if you feel like you're outside of that box, then you feel like you don't really have anybody with you. So then you're more prone to feel a downfall, because you feel like you're by yourself, or you're more prone to feel anxiety because you're not dressing how everybody else is dressing. You don't have the clothes that everybody else has. You don't look the way everybody else does.
Yeah.
On social media, so then you kind of that's another downfall if we're focusing on those two specifically.
So let's. You guys keep bringing it up. I keep kind of hearing it. Pressure. How does pressure play into mental health?
I think that people have certain standards that they think people should meet, even like it doesn't matter your age. Like you should be, if you're with people, you should be happy, and you should keep your emotions in until you're in like your home or wherever you stay at. Whatever it is, like you're supposed to be happy in public and kind of feel your emotions just with a couple people who you really are close with. So like I think that the standards that people have set affect a lot of like the younger kids.
My wheels are spinning now. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm just curious. So, is it safe to be real?
No.
Tell me why. I want to talk about it.
No.
I want to talk about it.
Because not everybody can handle it. Like, not everybody can handle it. That's.
Nah.
See, look, I'm not even doing it now. I'm not even doing it now.
Nah, but listen, I think it's a real thing. So, how many times have you guys walked up to a friend and, you know, say, hey, what's up? How you doing? You know what I mean? And they tell you the truth. Like, I'm not well. Like, you know, let me ask you guys, do you really, really care? Or were you just kind of just like, yo, what up? Just want to just kind of like, hey, and pass them by. You know, do we really, really kind of have enough time to like really dig into like, why are you not all right? And then kind of go back to what you said about how, you know, we're not even really, really able to see if somebody's really dealing with something. How much time do we allot to really, really check in on our friends to kind of see what mental status or where their head is at? Like, are you okay? Like, you know, like, are you really, really okay? You know what I mean? So I want to know, like, you know, is it safe to be real in this generation and say, I'm not doing well? What you think?
It's kind of like off topic. I feel like it's not necessarily a generation thing.
Okay.
Because people your age can be having mental health issues as much as someone my age.
You feel like you're calling me old, but I'll get over it.
No, but there's an age gap. There's a gap.
Jeez, tell me how you really feel, Anna. Nah, go ahead.
No, you know what I'm
I got
saying.
you.
But like, I don't know. I feel like it's that was just my point there.
It's all good.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, cool. That's fine.
You
that's
asked the
fine.
question again. I'm sorry. That's just what came to my head. When
I
you
just,
said that.
I still forgot the question, but it's fine.
Is it safe to be real?
Is it safe to be real is a question. It's safe to be real, like, you know, dealing with, like, you know, and you said people are not really, really able to handle this truth, handle, like, where I'm at, you know, handle what's kind of going on. What you think?
I don't think it is. Just because a lot of people, like, if you do come out, some people like invalidate how you feel, and that just makes it a lot harder to tell people. And then even though some people do care, like me, I care about how my friends are, but when they actually do tell me, like, it's hard to deal with the situation just because it's not common. So like I don't really know how to interact and how to help sometimes, just because like it's never happened before, because a lot of people don't feel like that they can and that they'll actually get help when they ask for it.
Wow.
So to go off that, I think it's safe to be real with certain people, and I think that's the
Facts.
hard part. It's like Juliana could be a safe person to go to, but she may not be, and it's like, how do I know the difference? So a lot of people, they just keep it to themselves, because how do you know what's safe and what's not?
Right.
But
I think that's another big thing. Like the big word everybody uses is toxic. Like everybody loves saying that word. So like if I was saying it and for people to understand, like it's very intoxicating to, let's say I go to Juliana for everything, but Juliana can't come to me for anything. So I'm just taking and taking and taking, and
You're
she's
dumping,
just giving
you're
and giving and
dumping,
giving,
yeah.
and I can't, and she's not able to put her stuff or able to voice her stuff to, let's say, anybody else in this group. So everybody's going to her, and she's like intaking it, but she has no output or anything like that. So it's just, that's another, that is so draining.
That puts us back to pressure.
Yeah.
That puts us back to pressure, and how, hey, Juliana, if you're always smiling, you're always happy, and people get joy off of you're happy, but you're never filled up. You know, like you're never built up, or no one's ever really, really kind of building you up. That's pressure. That's pressure. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it's technically safe to be real, but I think it's really important to be real, because personally, like, if you aren't being real with somebody, like, you're acting like you're putting on a mask for them, and putting on a mask is just going to make you seem like a totally different person. It's just like putting a fake picture on like a profile.
People do that all the time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, but it's like the same thing. Like, you're just like making something seem that's like it's not real. Like, you're not.
Right.
You're being fake to yourself.
It's cool.
But I think what you just said, like, made me think of something. Like, I think because of what you said about profile, how people put fake pictures and you say people do that all the time. I think that's how the world rolls like now. Like everybody puts up a front on social
And that's
media.
another part of like mental health, because
Yeah.
insecurities, like that's your
Exactly.
You better go ahead.
You're building insecurity.
Listen
Because
to
everybody's
me.
putting up a front on social media, and then let's say we meet face to face. Now you don't even know how to act, because all you're doing is just feeding off of what somebody else tweeted or posted, and you're just taking those comments and making them your own.
Listen, this is awesome. Let's make a slight left. Let's talk about, I think in our turn, I think in the time that we're in right now, I think that, you know, we can also like look at other factors that kind of come along with mental health. Let's talk about depression. How heavy is depression in, let's say, in my generation or in our generation or where we live? How big is depression where we are now? How big is it?
I feel like it's hard to put a scale onto things.
Okay.
Like, how big is it? It's like, well, on what's, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, what is big and what's small.
Okay.
But I definitely think now, like, back then, I feel like times probably haven't changed that much. Like, there's definitely depressed people then, like, there's depressed people now, but now it's more of a known thing. Like, people are just saying, like, the social media and stuff like that puts more pressure, going back to the pressure on the people and all that. So, I mean, I would say it's, like, it's pretty known that, like, it's pretty big in a lot of people's lives, like, that we're all facing these pressures and letting them get to us, and yeah.
Does pressure lead to a depression? Lead us into depression? You think so?
Nodding a lot and pondering. You gotta talk, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, it was like, I just wanted to be like regular. So I just wanted like this regular life. Like I would look around at a lot of like different kids in my grade and in my school, and like I would perceive them as like regular. So like, I don't know, I would go out my way to try to seem that way, and in doing so, then I like dug myself into a depression. And I didn't recognize it at first because it's like, I don't know, sometimes like you could be dealing with depression and you like don't even like notice or realize. And like I just built this like facade that I didn't need to build because, you know, I wanted to be regular. Yeah.
You wanted to live up to that stigma. of
Yeah,
everybody.
I don't know.
I think personally, well, listen, like, there's a lot of stuff going on like throughout my whole. He's talking about high school, like throughout my whole high school career, and it was in 10th grade. I had like a whole bunch of situations happening, but like it came to a point where I had like court mandated therapy. So I was there, and I'm like there for like 5 months, 6 months, I think, and the psychologist was like, "You have depression," and I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Wow.
And I just threw it to the side, and then just never thought about it. And then when I went to the army, we had to take, I forget what they're called. I forget what they're called. I'll probably get in trouble for saying it anyway. But you have to take like certain tests. It's tests where you're at mentally. Like they're literally tests. It's like 2 hours long. And then like from the test, they call me later and they're like, yeah, from the test you have depression. And then 2018, I had a doctor appointment, like the army gives like mandated doctor appointment, and the doctor said it too. So it was like 3 times that it popped up, and like each time I was like, nah, I don't know, I'm not even worried about it. I don't know what you're talking about. Like I can't have that. Like it doesn't work.
Wow.
But it's like, and it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't until like this is 2020. So maybe it's like last year. I was like, all right, and I started looking at my tendencies, like what I do when something like really tragic happens, and how I act, and how things affect me, and how much like it brings me down. And I was like, yeah, all right, like I hear you. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like you were saying regular. Like it's not. I don't really think anything is regular. Like we had a regular life, and now look at it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now this is our new regular, or our new normal. So I don't think there is a regular or a normal that we can live to. All we have is everybody's on their own walk. So like stuff like that, like I think
Pretty heavy.
yeah.
I like how you said. You went back to check your pattern, check your pattern, and kind of see, you know, hey, when something traumatic happens, how I respond, and how is life after that, and what do I do? I like how you kind of said that. I want to know, like, so like when you have, okay, by raising hands, who all here has ever been depressed? Kind of depressed, or whatever, or something type of depressed, or whatever. And it's kind of just like so technical. So what do you mean by depression? Like, could you spell that? No, no, I'm just saying. So all kind of have whatever. Tell me how you guys. How did you get out of it? How did you climb out of that state? What did you do to kind of get out of that place that you were in? That, let's call it a dark place. What did you do?
Well, for most people, like, to get out of something like that's deep, like sad and deep, you have to do something that makes you happy or like sad, basically. And like,
Okay.
like a lot of people are happy, But like some things make them laugh, or make them happy, like watching videos, TikTok maybe, or watching like TV shows. Like people like who are depressed sometimes, like maybe stay at home and watch something that makes them happy or try to get undepressed. Like that's not a word, but like you know what I mean though.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What you think?
I mean, I don't think like you completely get out of it. You may like diminish the effect it has on you, but like it'll always be times when you like, you know, dip back into that dark place. And it's like you could try to find things that make you happy, because like I did that in the past. Like yeah, like I would like run to people who made me happy, like when like I could last like envision me being like, you know, super happy and not depressed, and even they couldn't save me at that point in time.
Wow.
It was like I needed to find who I was and who I am. And I'm gonna be honest, like I don't know, I guess I just prayed about it, and like because like I was told not to claim it, but it was like I'm not claiming it, it's just the reality of the situation. Like I don't want this, but
This year.
yeah. So I just prayed about it, and like as the years passed, it's like the effects like started to decrease and like minimize, and like, you know, it comes and goes, but it's like I know like I'm gonna be okay at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
I don't stress over it anymore, and I don't. Yeah.
I think personally, it took something in my life, something like tragic happened, and I kind of came to the truth that even before it happened, like I was really in a dark place, and I had to like, to get out of it, I had to admit to myself that I wasn't okay, because I always tried to ignore my emotions and just like you're fine, like you're supposed to, like you have to be happy, like this and that. But like I kind of had to tell myself like, just because you're technically in a dark place in your life doesn't mean that you can't still help others and like have fun and all that. Like I like just kind of worked with what I had at the time and just like talk. Because I don't like talking about what happens in my life. I don't like that's not who I am. But like once I started to talk about it more, I think I started to become like more open, and like I think that I personally became happier. And it was just like, it was bad that something tragic had to happen to like come to that, but like that's how it worked for me. Like I had to admit to myself that I wasn't okay.
I'm glad you said that. This is what the Bible says. He says, confess your faults one to another that you may be healed. You know, I'm sorry, I'm going to take it out your book. But I'm glad you said it, though, because ultimately, listen, I want to say this to our viewers and to everyone around the circle that, hey, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. And I'm saying that, like, most people, like, you know, want to kind of put on the front, like, I'm cool, everything's cool, I don't got to cry, I'm all right. But talking to somebody, getting out what's in there, you know, it's okay to have that conversation. It's okay to, like, you know, want to kind of open up to a person that you trust, of course, that you can literally kind of just like not dump on, but just, hey, this is where I'm at. You know what I mean? It's okay to have that. It's okay to have that talk. And I'll be honest, within me, I've dealt with a lot of things even now, but over the years, whereas though I've tried to, you know, I've been either depressed or kind of had anxiety or dealt with kind of pressure, and I dealt with that within myself and thought I was okay. And this is the worst place to be, because honestly, like, you know, this is me talking to myself about how to get myself out of where I am. How crazy does that look? Listen, it sounded more crazy than what it was. You know what I mean? So I literally kind of had to kind of go find somebody to say, hey, yo, this is where I'm at, and this is what's going on with me, whatever. And I'm kind of like hoping and praying that, you know, people who are watching this, that you know, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. And if something is like wrong, not right with you, you know, you find somebody that you can trust to go chat with them, and just you want to go get some things hammered out. But you know, you don't have to live in that state. You don't have to live in that state of just like, you know, things kind of just like, you know, being wrong. You know, I think it's kind of just like a prison. I think it's a prison. I think it's a prison. I think it's almost like a prison in your own mind. You know, whatever. You know, I lock myself up in the pressures of my own mind. You know, I lock myself up in the anxiety of, oh my God, I gotta be like this, or I kind of gotta be like that, whatever. And it's a pretty scary thing, you know. But yeah, just so I wanted to just like, that's just where I am. Like, you know, I'm a 42-year-old male, you know, trying to make it out here in these young streets, you know. you know, but I really, really wanted, about, I guess ultimately, like, whatever, not as young as you are at this time, but I'm still dealing with stuff too, and ultimately, I'm still trying to understand what life is as it unfolds year after year, you know what I mean? And to be honest, I didn't have nobody around when I was younger to have these conversations. I could even say, as an adult, talking to a youth, I would say, hey, they'd be like, hey, I'm depressed. And I look at them like, what you depressed about? Come on, like, you can't be depressed like that. But in reality, that's just not the truth. You guys are dealing with a whole lot. You're dealing with a whole lot. There's so much kind of like, going on that's like literally just like, it could almost kind of like, take you out if you didn't have the proper support, So I'm going to call on somebody, one of y'all or somebody. I want you guys to tell me about a time other than you. Tell me about a time when you were depressed or you felt anxious and how you dealt with that at that time.
It happened for a while. I had some really like fake friends, and people constantly told me that, like family, church family, and I was just like, I wanted to ignore it because I was like that's not your business. Like, no, they're not. They're good friends. But last year, it was like around this time, I started to realize like this is not what I want to be, and then I started to realize that like I didn't. At that time, like I thought being alone was not okay, and I didn't want to be alone because I thought I didn't have anyone else. So I wanted to stay in that friendship, but I think I kind of realized that being in a toxic friendship is kind of worse than being alone for a short period of time. And then my friend had passed away, and I got even more like hurt, and like I started carrying more stuff on my back and everything. And like at the same time, I've always been the person to take all my friends and like carry their emotions. Like what Brian was saying earlier, like I would always just like carry them on my back just to like try to make them happy.
Wow.
And when he passed away, I was kind of like, okay, like that's my best friend, so like what am I supposed to do now? And then I started to kind of like talk to my people, and I was like, it's okay, like to like be upset, like it doesn't matter like what people really think of you, because the only opinions that will matter is like God and like the people who really care about you, because if they don't care about you, that has nothing to do in your life. Like that's toxic to you. That doesn't mean anything. So like personally, I just kind of realized I had to stop carrying everyone else's faults on me, and I had to just like let go of everything. Like, and there was like some nights I would just like sit in my room and just like cry. Like I would call Anna because like she was at school, so like I would just sit there and I would be like what's wrong with me? Like what did I do? But like it also comes like, I personally think everything happens for a reason. So I think I realized that I was in that state to find a new me and like, find who I really was.
Jeez, God. It's liberating listening to you guys. This is like liberating. It's like, this is great. Oh man, so what I keep hearing, it's like this, I guess, I don't know, I guess I kind of feel like our whole chat today is like literally like lingering around pressure. It's kind of just like literally like lingering around the pressure that we, whatever that we all deal with, and what pressure causes and how we deal with that type of stuff, What would you say to a teen or youth dealing with any kind of pressure or depression or anxiety? What would you say?
I think I would say not to bury yourself with stuff, because I know, like, I can't exactly, kind of like how Anna feels, like I can't define depression or what it is. Like I know, honestly now, like a lot of people, like they just want to say they have depression so that they can, like, I don't know, if they want somebody to feel bad for them or something. So that kind of blurs the lines on what you would define it as. But whatever it is, like if you think you have it or not, don't bury yourself with stuff. Because when I felt sad, like I felt like if I did more, I could distract myself or something. Like, that's why, like, I do a lot of sports. I have a lot of extracurricular activities. But at the end of the day, after you've exhausted yourself from doing so many things, you still feel the same. So you can do things to distract yourself and make you feel better, but don't do too much that just makes it worse. Like, do things that make you happy, not just to do it because you want something to do.
It's powerful. What would you say?
I would, so like kind of going off what Juliana said, she was like saying how some people like may say it for like the front. I think a big thing is to go through a depressing time, you don't have to be depressed.
Okay.
Like, you can be going through something and feel the symptoms and everything of depression, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have depression.
So don't label it.
No, I'm not saying don't label. I was
Okay.
just kind of like saying
Okay.
that like there's always like people going through something.
Mm-hmm.
But then, if you are going through something, I would say be real. Like you said, talk to someone you trust. Not everyone has that person they trust. So what I always tell people who are going through stuff and like don't really want to talk to anyone about it is I always say write it down, because even writing it down, you're getting it out. But I always say rip it up after you write it down, because for me, I like writing positive stuff. Like, this is just me personally. I like writing positive stuff that I can go back on. But if I'm writing something that's depressing and it brings me down, like if I go back to it, it's gonna like bring me down again.
It's powerful.
So I always say like write it down, but rip it up when you're done with it. Like
Right.
don't leave it there. So one day you go back and like go back to that time.
Okay.
But that's just my advice.
That's great.
I would say know that you're not alone. Like, there's people who are gonna ignore your emotions and just be like, act like you don't mean anything, but like, you really do. Like, there's someone out there who really will care about you and really will like listen to what you have to say. So, don't keep everything in. Like, you're gonna get through it. It's just, it may take, like, some people it takes longer, and that's okay. Like, as long as you have one person at least that you feel like you can actually open up to, I feel like things will start to get better for
That's great.
time.
Yeah, it's cool. What would you say?
So I don't mean to be blunt, but like,
Okay.
if you feel like depressed or like, upset, like in a dark place, like don't dwell on it. Like that's like the first mistake you could ever make. Like, don't just like bask in it and like succumb to it, because like that'll like tear you apart. And like, even though it seems like, you're in this dark place and like you're falling in a deep pit and like you can no longer see the light, like just always have faith and like, cause like the comeback is going to be greater than the setback. Like, it's only up from here. Like, you can't like, and I know like, we as humans, we all go through our own like separate like marathons, and like we're all in our own lane.
Yeah.
But like, if like you ever like, fall, or you ever need somebody to talk to, like I'll retreat and I'll come back and pick you up, because we're gonna cross the finish line together.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, like, we only operate if we all like cooperate as a team. Like, when one man falls, like, the best thing we could do is like pick them up and like, until they're back on their feet.
That's great. That's cool. What you say, La? What would you say to an individual?
Well, in the Bible it says in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7, it says, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. What I took from that is like, when somebody with anxiety with pressure on them, because I had pressure all my life.
Yeah.
I'm a first generation college student, so my mom didn't finish college, my dad didn't finish college, and then not a lot of people on my dad's side didn't finish college either, so I have a lot of pressure on me, and then I have to get into business school and like that. I feel like I have a lot of pressure on myself. So what I'm saying is, take things one step at a time. Don't try to do everything at once to make everybody happy or anything like that.
That's real
Don't
good,
try to do
man.
everything at once. Don't overthink about anything either, because once you overthink, you lose thought of like what your focus is basically.
Yeah. Wow. What you say, Brian?
What you said about falling in a deep pit, like, when you're in if you ever get stuck in quicksand, they tell you not to panic,
Right.
because you're falling, but the more you panic, the more you fall down. So, and the more, like, let's say you're reaching out for this, you're reaching out for that, like you're trying to reach for this person, you're trying to reach for that thing that made you happy before. You're not the same person that you were before, so that person or that thing might not make you happy anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't reach around and grab. You have to kind of stay still. Like, if he used a Bible verse, I was gonna say, he says, "Be still and know that I am God."
Powerful.
So you have to be still. As hard as it is to like not let your mind overthink, not to like try to reach for something, you have to sit there, go through it,
Yeah.
so then somebody can help pull you out, or you can get out on your own. That's the only way you're gonna be able to see clearly.
Gotcha.
I also think it's okay to be weak at some points in your life.
Fact.
Like, it's okay.
No doubt.
Like, you don't have to be strong your whole life, because nobody is.
It's a beautiful thing. I want to leave all of us and all of our viewers with this message. This is what the Bible says. Philippians 4:8. He says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Think on these things. What I want us to do is make sure that we are aligning our minds with things that are true. What's the truth? Well, align your mind with things that are praiseworthy. What's noble? What's of good report? Align your minds with that. Because ultimately, the enemy is out to lie to us all the time, saying things like, you can't, you never will, it's always going to be this way, nothing's ever going to change. And now that we're in like a COVID-19 situation, we're all like, when is life going to open back up again? So everybody's kind of just like, literally like panic. People are panicking for their jobs, and people are panicking for school, and trying to like, hey, when are we going to go back to normal? But we really don't know. But the Bible says, he said, whatever's true, whatever's praiseworthy, whatever is noble, whatever is of good report, think on these things. All right? So ultimately, God is telling us, I want us to all to align your minds with things that are right and true, no matter what. Even when dark times come, because they will, but even in the dark time, what's true? What's true? I want you to point your minds to what's true. So everyone out there, listen, I want you to wrap your mind around Philippians 4:8. Whatsoever is true, noble, praiseworthy, of good report. He said, think on these things. Think on these things. And the God of peace will be with you no matter what. I want to thank you guys. Thank you all for hanging out today. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for checking us out. We're going to be here, and we want to have real conversations. We are the Heart of God. We say we're a real church serving real people with real problems, offering a real solution, which is Jesus. But also, the next generation is also doing that too. We believe that we want to have kids ministering to kids, because we know that we're all dealing with stuff in every age bracket. Thanks, Anna, for telling me that I'm old. I appreciate it. Love you very much. But we got so much going on. But we believe that we want to be a blessing to you. We want to minister to you all, everyone across the board. My name is Pastor Dimitri Horton. I'm youth pastor of the Heart of God Family Worship Center, Pottstown, PA, and we're all signing off. Peace.
Before we go, shirts like that. That's his name is Tyree Jones. 1ix.store. Go get gear from there. And also Anna, True Identity, and she has a whole bunch of other things she's doing. Artwork, everything. Her is Bananas. She's on Instagram, Facebook. Go find her and things of that sort. Thank you. Support our youth. And also Dimitri Horton. Go, if you don't have it already, get your therapy. It's called therapy. It's on every streaming website. And thank you.